I've got to clap for them because they're now leading the league. They've played absolute phenomenal football. Yep, ladies, gents, and everyone in between. Welcome to a new kind of video today. Not going to be doing a reaction. Don't worry, I'm still doing them. I'm going to be talking about football because it's one of my other passions in life, apart from TV and film and gaming. So I thought, why not bring football onto the channel as well? I thought for a first video, maybe this will be regular, who knows. I'm going to be doing predictions. I'm going to predict with the Premier League weekend, predict the scores, talk about what I think of the season so far, because obviously none of you guys know. And yeah, I thought I'd have a good time, discuss some football, see what the shindig is, you know. I mean, I'll be honest, I've had a quick look at the fixtures. I've not really been paying attention. Obviously, I've had the international break. You know, who really gives a shit about the international break? I don't. But there's some good fixtures this weekend. I think there's a lot of derbies, a lot of storylines that could be made, you know. So, without further ado, let's go through and see whether I'm actually right or not. More than likely I'm not, but you know what? Let's just fucking do it. First up, we've got a Merseyside derby, early kick-off on Saturday. It's Liverpool v Everton. Obviously, this will be a big game. It's one of the biggest matches in England in football, really. Very heated, a lot of rivalry, a lot of history. Of course, at the minute, the gulf between the two sides is fucking huge, to say the least. Liverpool could be in a title race. Everton could be going down. Like, it couldn't be more stark than that. Let's talk about Liverpool. The squad played against Brighton, which I think they're unlucky, to be fair. Obviously, Alisson in goal, Van Dijk, Matip, centre-backs. He's played 4-3-3 with Robertson, Trent, obviously in full-backs. Then we've got the midfielders, Sosberlai, McAllister. They seem to be like the two staple midfielders. And I feel like we rotate between Elliott, Jones, Endu, and then Gravensburch. But I feel like we're trying to groom Gravensburch towards being a regular starter. Then obviously they had a front three of Luis Diaz, Nunez, and Mo Salah. I think, personally, Liverpool, the way that they have rebuilt their midfield this season is quite phenomenal. And I think no one really talks about it. I'm guessing, you know, because of all the Chelsea, Man U. I'll get on Spurs when I talk about them. But that is certainly something that has not really been spoken about. And I get pissed off about it, alright? I think Sosberlai is he's probably one of the signings of the summer. He's been phenomenal for Liverpool. Completely changed that midfield compared to what it was last season. It was shocking, really. I think that's something that I don't think they'll win the title, but I think they'll certainly... Top three is definitely a probability at the minute. I like the fact that Nunez has started to come back again. I mean, he had a bit of an underwhelming first season, but I feel like he's starting to show being the proper number 9, hold up play, etc. So now Everton, they won the last game 3-0, and they've been in very good form actually in the last few games. They beat, for a relegation side anyway, it's good form. They beat obviously Bournemouth last game. And they also beat, I think, was it Brentford? And then they lost to Luton in the middle. I mean, that's a bit of a shit result, especially down in the depths of relegation. I think it's a very complex situation at Everton with the ownership. I think they look like they're going to be bought out. I might be wrong. Calvert-Lewin, I never really rated him, to be honest. I think he's always injury prone, as we know. I think he's just more of a target man. Like, he's been doing all right. I think he's one of the reasons why we've been kind of come back a bit. Because I think he's certainly better than Beto, whether it's Beto who was signed. And he didn't look like there's anything about him, to be honest, from what I've seen. I think Everton, I mean, personally, I think at the start of the season, I thought Everton would have gone down. They didn't really sign anyone. They didn't, from the games, especially in August, it was just so depressing and miserable. It just seemed like, you know, still on Dyche, Brexit football doesn't really work with them kind of players. They have had a bit of an uptake. I still think it'll be very, very difficult if they'll go down or not. 17th, 18th is where you're looking for Everton. Whether or not the likes of Decore, Onana will carry them through to safety. But they can't keep going on like this. Like they can't keep signing shit players. I mean, we had a shocking transfer since Farhad Moshri got control of the club. In terms of what I think for the match, I mean, if anyone's saying that Everton are going to get anything out of this game, you need to get your head checked out. That is not going to happen at all. Liverpool win this game 2-0. It'll be conservative. I'm not going ridiculous because Sean Dyche will park the bus with Everton. They're going to be quite difficult to break down, but a team of Liverpool's calibre will do that and will score a couple of goals in the process. So, Liverpool 2-0. Next game, 3 o'clock, first 3 o'clock game is Bournemouth against Wolves. Interesting match because it's down in the bottom half of the table. I do like those kind of games. I love a good relegation battle. Always adds something to the season. Bournemouth, however, have been shocking, to say the least. They've not won a game. They've drawn 3. I think I saw them when they played Chelsea in Madrid. That was probably the only game which they played fairly well at. Then again, Chelsea were in a right shit situation then. Again, I just spoke about it. They lost 3-0 to Everton. I mean, it was a very poor game from Bournemouth. In terms of the squad, they've got a lot of young players, haven't they? Of course, they've got Neto in goal, the old Barcelona keeper. They've got Sensei and the Ukrainian lad, Zabini. Again, young centre-back partnership. They've got a lot to learn, so you can't give them too much slack. Cook, Christie, Marcus Tavernier, Philip Billing, Solanke up front of that. I honestly thought at the start of the season with the signings they brought in, when they brought in Sinisteria, they brought in Culliver, Max Aarons, Tyler Adams. They brought in natives which I thought would easily keep them up. Alex Scott, I know Alex Scott's been injured. They spent a lot of money this season. They took a huge risk of sacking Gary O'Neill and bringing in the current manager and Andoni Iraola from Spanish League, from La Liga. I didn't really know much about him before he joined. I think he did fairly decently with the team he was at. It's one of those kind of weird, kind of risky appointments I felt like from Bournemouth. It's not really going well so far. We've not even won. It's not good enough really. I think they could be going down this season. Not looking good basically for Bournemouth. However, Wolves, it's almost like the reversal in my opinion, because I thought Wolves were going to struggle. Not so much players and manager, more the ownership situation FFP, because if they do stay up this season, are they going to be sustainable for next season? Are they going to be able to spend the money and get the players they want? And it doesn't look like their owners seem particularly interested anymore. They were when they went up. Obviously, they signed Jimenez and Jahal Martinho, a lot of young Portuguese players. I think that's been part of the problem as well, talking of Portuguese. Nothing against Portuguese players. Nothing against Portugal at all. But their whole policy, I feel like, has been completely dominated by signing Portuguese players or Portuguese league players. That's not going to get you in the top half. That's not going to get you results. To focus on one league, I mean, we're starting to focus outside of that now from what we've done this season. You can't do that. Like, I thought this at the time. I was like, they come 7th that season. We got the Europa League. This was years ago. But we can't keep doing this policy of just signing from one country and one league for the most part. I mean, this season, obviously, they had to fork out 50 million fucking euros on here for Kuna. He's been probably their best player this season alongside Neto, who's back. I don't like that. So from what I've seen so far, the French lad they got, he seems like he's got a hot head. He's young, I know, but not an impact, is it really? And of course, they got rid of Nunez and Neves and Collins as well. Chang-Wan has scored 5 goals, which I didn't see coming. Of course, last game we drew 1-1. Lemina got sent off as well. Apparently, Villa should have won. I didn't really watch that game, so I can't really comment too much. Here I am doing predictions. But in it's a good result for Wolves, and I think they've had a lot of good results in recent games. Obviously, they beat Man City, they drew against Luton. I suppose Luton's not a really good result. Sorry, as you probably can tell, I've not done really much prep. I'm very much a raw remote reaction guy. I don't really look at the stats. I just go off feeling. I just go off like what I know. That being said, we are playing the Vitality. This could be a draw, but I'm not going to pick that. I think Wolves are going to win 1-0. I can't see Bournemouth doing anything in this game. I think it'll be a very interesting game because obviously Gary O'Neill's going back to the place he went was last season. Obviously, they got rid of him quite somewhat controversially, given that he kept them up, and now he's doing a very much more than better job at Wolves. And I think he'll beat Bournemouth. I think he'll have his revenge. So sorry, Bournemouth fans. Moving on to Brentford against Burnley. Brentford have been not had a good season at all. They drew against Forest, my team, if you didn't know already. The goalkeeper Flecken has been very, very nowhere near to the levels of Raya. We can see that. I mean, it's going to take a while to get someone in. I think they're really missing Tony. I think that's the main issue with Brentford at the minute. He's not going to be back till January, and even then, it's looking like he could be going off to a big club. I don't think it's not so much, although obviously his impact on the field is stark because he was scoring 20 goals a season. I think off the pitch he must have had a big influence. I just don't think they're clicking as well. We're not going to go down, but I think they'll definitely struggle. We're not going to come top half, like for sure. I mean, looking, obviously, they lost 2-1 to Man U. In a lot of ways, it was quite an unlucky result. Man U scored 2 at the last minute. Of course, I know Man U dominated that second half. But it was if Man U didn't win that game, I think Ten Hag would have been looking very, very vulnerable in terms of sacking. So that was a must-win for Man U. Of course, who have bought Brentford side? Mulpay, I don't really get that signing, to be honest. Collins the back, and then I've got, of course, I think I had him on loan last season. Kevin Shaladay, if I can pronounce that properly. But all in all, they're not doing particularly well. Then Burnley, another one that's underwhelmed me. I was convinced with a capital C, convinced they will be coming at least 15th this season. Convinced, based on how they did in the Championship, because they dominate that league. I think they only lost 4 games, and that's a 46-game season. Like, especially, I don't know if you've got viewers that are outside the UK, the Championship season in England is so long, like it's very draining. Like, you play multiple midweek games, that's quite a good feat, but it's just not translated this season, has it? Just not click. They just don't seem to be adapting very well. They got the first win against Luton, which isn't exactly like statement win. If you want to compare that to like Luton, I'll get on to Luton in the next one. But when Luton's win was a lot more of a headline, I feel like they're 18th for the minute. Like I said, they have got a win, so that counts as something. They made a lot of signings this summer though. They got Sander Berge. He's not really been doing the deed for them, I don't think. Zeki Amdouani, one of the top scorers in the Conference League, if you really care that much about that. They got him for 18 million. This is all in euros. So they have spent the money. They've gone out. They've got Trafford, Ramsey, Bayer from his loan last season. They have gone and done it, but it's just not translating on the pitch. I mean, they lost 4-1 to Burnley last game, for example. Oh, God. I know it's against Chelsea. It's always going to be difficult. But to lose 4-1, it's not looking good, is it? I think this game will be a draw, though. They're both out of form. I think Burnley will be looking for a point as well. I think there'll be that pressure a bit. So I think it'll be 1-1. 1-1 is what I'm going for there. Next game, oh no, it's not. It's Man City Brighton. Why this game is 3 o'clock, I don't know. This should be a televised game. It's quite a big game really now. You wouldn't have said that 5 years ago. But of course, Man City. They lost the last 2 in the Premier League, which is very unlike Man City. They don't lose 2 in a row usually. Maybe that's just a fluke. Most likely it is. Of course, the Arsenal game was I watched that game. It wasn't a good game, was it? Let's be honest. Considering the kind of the scale of what the matchup was at the time. First time in a while I've seen Man City look very, very back foot. Like they didn't dominate like they usually do, even against the big teams. I think Arsenal looked the real deal this season. No one's disputing that they've got probably the best squad in the league. When you've got the likes of Haaland up front, Foden, Grealish, Silva. I know De Bruyne is injured, but obviously Kovacic. Brought in Nunes. They've got a very, very depthy defence as well. I mean, you've got Aki, Gvardiol, Diaz, Akanji. I like the look of Rico Lewis as well, the young right back. Edison in goal, standard top 6 keeper. Like, you know, they're going to be fine. They're going to be in that title race, of course. Brighton, I'm not going to sit here and say Brighton are like, why are they in the top 6? They're not a big club, all this talk. Because I do like Brighton and what they've done. I like the way they've recruited, etc. And I think they've made, obviously, the Cancedo, 116 million euros seems like a fucking huge sale, like huge coup for them. The sign, Fatty was the big loan signing. That's quite of a shock signing for me. He's one of the best young players in the world. I know he's been injured. I still think he is. And he's gone to Brighton. Like, that shows you the level Brighton are at now, which I think people are always keen to forget. And obviously we signed Pedro from Wolves, Baliba from Lille, who played well against Liverpool, I have to say. And obviously we've got the Bruggen in goal and this Igor from his Italian league. Squad, attacking wise, no one is disputing that they're one of the best in the league. Ferguson's one of the best young strikers in the world. Mitoma, he's phenomenal. Phenomenal. Say where they got him from. I like the Adringa, he's been playing well. The new young lad from Africa, is the Ivorian or something. And obviously Pedro in that number 9. Can't go wrong with Pedro. Where Brighton's problems lie, and this is why I don't think they'll get Europe this season. Defensively, I don't think they're very good. They've conceded 16. Yeah, obviously the 6 of them were against Villa. But I just feel like they're not particularly compact at the back compared to the likes of Tottenham and like they're now new rivals, I suppose you'll call it. Looking at the game against Man City though, you play Man City at the Etihad. I mean, let's be honest, the Etihad isn't exactly a fucking fantastic home ground, is it? I mean, we're all bothered about getting phones out and doing all this shit, but actually watching the game. Take that out of consideration. Man City have got a better squad. Man City will win 2-0. Actually, scrap that. I think Man City will win 2-1. I think Brighton will get a goal. But I'm a bit disappointed it's a 3 o'clock game. It should have been... I would have loved to have watched that on the telly, but that's fact to Sky Sports. Right, next game being Newcastle Palace. Right. Both are on quite fair form. Well, no, actually, no. Newcastle are on great form at the minute. Crystal Palace are doing more than expected. Or like, what's the right word? Overrated, overperforming form, we'll call it that. Newcastle, though. Of course, that memorable win against PSG, we'll call it that 4-1. The likes of Sean Longstaff and Dan Burn scoring. Their names you'd never think would be scoring in a Champions League game. And of course, Fabian Schär's fucking worldie. I love Newcastle. I've got a lot of my family are from Newcastle and Matt and me in North East. I think they're not... I like Arbafat. I mean, when the Saudis bought Newcastle, everyone was going, they're going to buy Lewandowski, they're going to buy Messi, they're going to get all these big players. I like how they've gone very, very... taking steps. They're not going out buying every player under the sun. It won't go... Not like Chelsea, and look how it's played out for them. Signings this season... Tonali, I mean, as of recording, it's looking like he could be suspended for quite a long time with this betting scandal. So that's a shame, because I did like him. He seemed like a decent midfielder for them. Barnes has been very good. Liverpool, I've not really seen much of him. A young lad right back, a Southampton lad. And of course, Lewis Hall's the other one they got from, loan with view to buy, I think, from Chelsea. So, yeah, young players that probably won't do too much. They've won the last 3 and drawn. I think we drew against West Ham, wasn't it? So that was always going to be a tough game against West Ham. We're also on bloody good form. I like Isaac up front. I think he's a very good striker, one of the best in the league. And we've also got Wilson, again, another good striker. I like Anthony. Anthony Gordon surprised me this season. I thought he was going to be like the kind of one of the first flop signings. I didn't really think too much of him, but he's done very well actually. I mean, in the under-21s, he's done bits as well. Bruno Guimaraes as well. I mean, staple midfielder really, very good, very, 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 very good. The back four is something of a mystery to me because you would have. I mean, Spotman's injured. Dan Burn, Fabian Schär, Paul Dummett. I don't think he really plays anymore. Lascelles, Target, Alphonse Trippier and Kraft and Manquillo. Like, these are defenders that you'll never ever in a million years, apart from Botman, think would be in a top 6 side. Yet here we are. So they're definitely defenders of the year for me. In terms of the expectation, 2 years ago to now is incredible. And you got to credit back to Eddie Howe. Like, Eddie Howe's done a phenomenal job at Newcastle. Considering where they were under Steve Bruce, fucking hell. Destined for going into the Championship. And now being in the Champions League beating PSG. It's a hell of a turnaround. And I see a lot of people on YouTube and etc. and pundits say, oh, he's only a transition manager. Oh, he's not going to win the title with Newcastle. He's not good enough. I say bollocks to that. He can win things, considering what they've done. But he can definitely win things with the right play. Obviously, they're not ready to win the title now because it's only been 2 years since they've been bought. And they're taking things slow, as I've said. But they're going to win the league, I think, in a matter of 5, 6, 7 years. And I think Eddie Howe will still be there to do it. I don't get this mentality. I wish he'll be England manager, but he's not. He's Newcastle's manager. Palace. Crystal Palace. Again, overperforming form, right? They lost the heart to Galatasaray, which is a phenomenal signing for them, by the way. They brought in Lerma on a free, good signing. And then they also brought in the Brazilian lad, Matheus Franca, from a Brazilian league. Of course, they've brought in Dean Henderson as well, which pissed me off at the time, because he was destined to come to Forest. But he went to Palace instead, and we got Matt Turner, who's probably a better keeper, to be fair. So, again, defence, Guehi, Anderson, one of the underrated centre-back partnerships of the league. They're certainly top half quality. You got, obviously, Tyreek Mitchell, Klein as fullbacks. Standard, really. Tyreek Mitchell looks good. Lerma's been alright. Decore, solid midfielder. Will Hughes, squad player, really, isn't he? Eze, definitely. I mean, he's in the England squad now. He's 25, which I didn't realise he was that old. I thought he was younger than that. But Eze's there. He's very good. I like him as a good attacking midfielder. But obviously, you've got Elise, who's injured, which is a big. It's a baddie, really. I think Palace might start to decline with him gone. And of course, we've had the same forwards, I feel like, for years. Edouard, Matea, and Ayew. I think Edouard's alright. I think that's something they need to get him in January and the summer, is a decent centre forward that can do the job, because they've not really had it, have they? Benteke didn't pay off. They signed Edouard a couple of years ago. Obviously, Ayew before that. It's not really worked. They need someone that can score 15 goals. That being said, they are doing well. Roy Hodgson tactics, as usual, as we know, the 4-3-3. Scored 7, conceded 7. Standard Roy Hodgson football. Newcastle win this game 2-0. St James Park, probably the best home ground in the league. But, Palace could do something. I can't see it, though, personally. So I'm going to go with Newcastle 2-0 win. Next. Now we're on for the real good shit. Forest Luton. Come on, you fucking Reds. Forest this season. Huge improvement from last season. No one can say any different. We've got 9 points now. We had 4 last season. Double the points. We've actually won games. We've had some good wins. So in terms of the last few games, it's not great. We've drawn against Burnley, Brentford and Palace. The Palace game I watched, and I think we could have won that game easily. The Brentford game was even. I think the Burnley game, to be fair, Burnley was sort of robbed, especially with that offside decision. Look at our signings. I'll go through what we've signed, obviously. Sangari being the big statement signing. One of the best midfielders outside the top 5 leagues. I'm so very surprised we got him. But that was kind of financed by Johnson going to Spurs. R.I.P. Johnson, by the way. We signed, obviously, Elanga, Hudson-Odoi. Hudson-Odoi could be the value signing of the season for me. For 5 mil, and he's fucking one of my best players already. Like, says it all. Obviously, got Chris Wood on the permanent. Dominguez, Murillo. He looks like a very good centre-back from Brazilian League. Tavares on loan. Matt Turner has been solid. And of course, we signed Montiel, the infamous penalty winner. He scored penalty that won Argentina at the World Cup, I believe. Origi, Ali Alina as well. He's been all right. I mean, Andre Santos as well. I feel sorry for because like he's now kind of like 5th choice midfielder out of all midfielders we've signed. And then finally we've got the Norwich centre back, Omabamidele, who's a prospect really. I don't think we'll see too much of him this season. What do I think of Forest though? I think last few games have not been too great. I think this is a game we need to win, which will decide whether we're going to be in a relegation fight or just staying in the Premier League full stop. Sangare has been definitely getting better. I think that first game he was just adapting to the league, but I think he's starting to show why we signed him. I mean, he wins that ball. He gets possession back very, very well, very quickly. He's a very physical player as well. Luton though, they've also shocked me because they actually won a game. They beat Burnley, and they played very well against Spurs. Of course, you can't go off 2 games, but they seem like against Spurs, they're very, very adapted to the league already, and I think that'll be very good for them going forward. Obviously, they're not a very big incoming club. Like, we're not going to sign players upon players. We have done bits. We've got Lokonga on loan, Ross Barkley, and I think Andros Townsend is now signed for them. A lot of kind of these very cheap kind of championship-esque players are signed, like what Norwich normally do. But like I say, we lost only 1-0 to Tottenham. Very unlucky, I felt like. They could have definitely scored multiple times. And we did score, I think, but it was offside. This will be a very tough game for Forest, no doubt. I think we need to have our A game on. I think we need to start not underestimating this team. I think we'll win 1-0. That's my prediction. I just really hope we go into this game and do not think Luton are just a pushover team. We need to win this game to like be out of that relegation dogfight. I know it's early on the season, but you know, if we start dropping points to Luton, then Morel's going to go down because like, you know, we've already dropped so many, but we're not won since Chelsea. So like, come on now. On to the biggest game of the weekend for sure. Chelsea against Arsenal. Chelsea, for me, we all know that they've been doing shit. I don't need to repeat that, right? We all know that they've been losing left, right, centre. They've been having some shocking results. Don't seem to know where they're at. I mean, they've got Pochettino. I think if any manager can get a disorientated team firing, it's him. They've made about 60 signings over the last 3 windows, all for ridiculous money. But I think the reason why, because a lot of people are saying FFP, I think it's the way, in terms of how they've managed this signing. They're not paying 150 million for Cancelo, for example, up front. I think it comes in various instalments. There's a lot of complexity to the deals. Plus, they've offloaded a hell of a lot of players. Mount and Havertz, Kovacic, obviously Pulisic, Loftus-Cheek gone, all of them. Like, it's a complete top to bottom revolution that's going off at Chelsea. So you've got to take that into account going into the season. And I think the fact that they are Chelsea, they are usually trophy winners. I mean, they only won the Champions League 2 years ago. It's a big shock for fans and football fans in general that they're not doing well. That being said, you can't lie. It still has been shocking. The last 2 games have been good though. They beat Fulham 2-0. They beat Burnley 4-1. I know they're not exactly like top half opposition, but it's certainly a good start. Like, it's a good upwards trajectory at the minute. I thought we played well against Burnley. Cole Palmer did bits. Of course, he was one of their signings this season. A bit of a shock transfer, really, that one. In terms of his signing this season, though, and like kind of the squad in general, but Robert Sanchez is. He did well at Brighton, so I think he's going to improve. I like Colwell as a young player. Diassi, again, you can't really say too much. He's been all right. Obviously, we've got 3 centre backs that are injured. Badashili looked very good when he was playing. Fofana's obviously injured. Chalobah's injured. Chilwell's also injured. And Thiago Silva's 39. He's still playing at elite level as well, which is pretty sick for him. Cucurella's been shocking. Matson's been very good for a young player. Reece James, obviously, probably the best player in that squad right now. Gusto, very, very average. Cancedo has definitely been shocking for how much they paid for him. Not good enough, really, there. Romero Lavia, that was a ridiculous signing for me. 60 million, 50 million, whatever it was, for a championship 19-year-old. It just shows you the state of fucking money at the minute. The Galav from Rennes, I can't pronounce his name, Ugochukwu. I think I've got that right. Sorry for offending anyone. He's been alright. Enzo Fernandez has been very good for money. I like him a lot. Conor Gallagher, I think he's underrated. Nkunu's not played this season. I think he'll be very good for them. Cole Palmer's very good. Sterling, we all know who Sterling is. Solid player. Mudryk. Right, Mudryk. That first game, he was phenomenal, wasn't he, when he come on? I think we all remember that as a football fan. Since then, well, between then and probably the Burnley game, he's young, we know that, but he's not been good, has he? I mean, he's just, it seemed like a bit of a pace merchant. He seemed like a Ukrainian Dan James. But no doubt he's a young player. He could become good, I just don't know. Madueke again, decent. England under 21. Nicholas Jackson, shocking. To be fair, might take that back a bit. I don't think he was expected to be number one striker this season. I think they're looking at Nkunou to be that. To say that you've signed for a top, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and to literally sky goals. I know he scored against Fulham thing, but it's still, come on. You got to be doing better, mate. I like Pochettino, as I said. I think he's the right manager for that job. But Chelsea need to get Europe this season. As much as I know it's been a huge revolution there, I think if they don't get Europe this season, it'll be a huge, huge shock to most. I think it can't happen 2 years in a row. I don't think that's really been done before by a big side. Not even Man Utd's done that. Onwards to Arsenal. Now, Arsenal are obviously one of the best sides in the league at the minute. Arteta has done bits. I know everyone was on the Arteta out train a few years ago, especially during COVID. But I could see what he was trying to do. It was going to be a lengthy process to get to this point. I think Arteta's one of the best young managers in the world. So, again, they made a few signings this season. Brett Rice being obviously the big one. He's probably been their best player, in my opinion, in that midfield. Havertz was a bit of a funny one because of how bad it was at Chelsea. But he has been improving under Arsenal. And maybe under the right guidance, he'll get to that point. And of course, we signed Timber, but unfortunately he's out. Of course, the goalkeeper situation as well. A lot of people I've seen criticising that decision to sign with David Raya. I must admit, I don't get it myself. You always sign a keeper that's a good number two. They're good enough to come in. They're good enough to take the pressure, but they're not as good on a consistent basis as the number one. David Raya, when they signed him, he probably was the best keeper outside the top six. So it feels like you're kind of upsetting the ball cart with Ramsdale. I mean, it's just going to create this really awkward power dynamic at the goalkeeper position. And I think we're starting to see it at the minute, especially when Raya played against Man City. It didn't seem like he was ever so nervous on the ball. He didn't seem like he could cope with pressure. I think they'll bring Ramsdale back in for this game. When you look at the defence, Saliba and then Gabriel, very good centre-back partnership. I love Zinchenko as a full-back. Ben White, again, has been completely... he's managed to transition very well from centre-back to full-back. Of course, you've got Kiwor, the Polish lad, Jakub Kiwor in there. Tomiyasu as well, decent backup. Midfield, we talked about Rice. Partey, good, very, very good midfielder. Jorginho, Odegaard, one of the best attacking midfielders in the world. I really like him. I think people underestimate him because you see a lot of people I feel like compare him to De Bruyne because they're obviously play that similar position. But I think Odegaard is definitely, we could become the league's best player, especially if we start winning titles for me. Martinelli, one of the best wingers in the world in my opinion. I think that might be a big statement to some. I just think that the way he plays and how he completely tears through defences, I like him a lot. Trossard, I thought the time we signed Trossard, he was the signing of January. I was like, that is such a coup. 20 mil for him. And he's been paying off. He's been playing well. Saka, what no one needs to be said about this kid. He just does everything right. I feel like I'm repeating the statement. One of the best right wingers in the world. He's so good. He's so good. I'm so glad that we got an English player like him. Gabriel Jesus, has he really hit the mark as what we've all been thinking? Maybe not, but was he brought in to score 20 goals? I don't think he was. I think he's just a good kind of hold-up player up there as well. And Ketia, he's just not good enough for me for his squad. I'm very surprised that he keeps getting in, especially when it's called up to the England squad. I didn't get that. He just seems to not have that product at the end. He might be good for a team like Brighton or West Ham, but for a team of Arsenal, what they want to do, he's not for me. Anyway, I've been rambling on about these two. I mean, he's the biggest game week, so I have to dedicate a lot of time to this. I think this will be a draw. I think this will be 2-2. That's what I'm predicting. Chelsea are on an upwards trajectory. Arsenal are already there. Chelsea are at home. I think Chelsea will bounce off what we've done in the last 2 games and they'll get a point out of this. They're not going to win. The more than likely team that will win is Arsenal in this situation. But I think, for me, a draw, it will be a very, very good result here. Right, moving on to the 8 o'clock game. I hate these 8 o'clock games, man. We have Sheffield United against Man U. Sheffield United, if anyone says, oh, they've been, like, they're the promote side, like, they're doing well, or like they're doing what we thought. No. They've had 1 point. 1 point. They get rid of their best player in Ndiaye, and then they get rid of Sander Berge. Probably their 2 best players. Replace them with Cameron Archer up front, Gustavo Hammer, which I suppose Hammer's been a better replacement, to be fair. Cameron Archer's young. Are we going to see it from him? I don't know. But I've also got James McCarthy as well on loan again, and Luke Thomas from Leicester. I think he's very much overachieved with Sheffield United, especially last season. I was very surprised they went up and did as well as they did. That's it, really. What more can be said? They're not very good. Like we beat them. What was I don't even know what the draw was. The only draw was against Everton, which it's not great, is it? Like, we're losing every game. Lost to both sides down there. So yeah, not good from Sheffield United. Man U are also not doing very well, as we all know. And there's many stories there at the minute with like Maguire. The owners, obviously, this whole Jim Ratcliffe is going to let them have some say or whatever. I've not really been too informed on it, so I don't really want to comment too much on it. I do want to say something like Maguire, though, because I hear a lot of people say he's not a top 6 defender. And I think I want to say as well, I mean, the criticism leveled against him, I suppose, as a professional Premier League footballer, the money you're always on, I think you are subject to an appropriate level of scrutiny. No bullshit bullying, that's not on. But you should be subject to scrutiny in the public, because you're a public figure now in a way. I think that the decline started since Greece and that whole scandal there. I don't think he's really done well since then, and rightly so. I mean, who else would cope with that? And now he is playing like a bottom half defender for sure. He just seems so nervous on the ball. He just seems the amount of errors he makes. Although he has been playing fairly okay this season, but he's only been there because obviously of the injuries. I think the whole decision to call up for England from Southgate has been poor. I feel like that's more of a favouritism decision. I think not Maguire's fault. I think that's all Southgate's doing. He just needs the right mindset. Really, he needs to get that mindset back, like what we saw of him 5 years ago. He's not been the only issue for sure. I think the Mount signing was a bit of an odd one. Casemiro has not been firing this season. Obviously, the whole Anthony situation. That's another thing to add to Ten Hag's fucking workload. And I think a lot of people might give Ten Hag stick. The manager's not the issue, Man U. It's the Glazers and that hierarchy is the issue. They're all clueless. These signings are made. They don't know how to run a club. I think the Qatari state ownership, they clearly denied that because they would have been offered a way in by Ratcliffe, why Ratcliffe does... I don't get that from a business perspective as well. Why the hell would you let a clearly incompetent ownership group still relinquish control and you're still paying, billions of dollars for it? That made no sense to me, that whole thing. I do think, so Man U will definitely beat Sheffield United. There's no shadow of doubt about that. I'll probably say they'll win 3-0. I mean, that's how confident I am. Sheffield United just nowhere near good enough for this league. On to Sunday's game, Villa against West Ham. This game is a underrated game, in my opinion. It's probably the best. You got Villa, West Ham and Brighton that are all in the same bracket at the minute in terms of what they want to do, in terms of what they're aspiring. They want to all get into Europe in there. That's their aim. They want to get into that 7th, 8th spot, because it looks like it's going to be a top 8, I think, this season. The Aston Villa have made some cracking signings again. Moussa Diaby, I'm surprised he went there, to be fair. I thought he would have gone to like an Arsenal or a Spurs even, but he's signed for Villa. I think it's that Unai Emery link. Unai Emery has contacts everywhere, I presume. Again, Solid Martinez, World Cup winning keeper. What more can you get from that? Diego Carlos and Pau Torres partnership, I think, could be very, very interesting. I know Carlos is coming back from a long-term injury, but I do like that partnership if they stay in shape. Lucas Dinger, good fullback. Matty Cash, Forest legend. I'm going to say it now. I loved him at Forest in the Championship. I think he's took that A game up several steps. He's been playing very well for them this season. We've also got Kamara, Deccan, Dendokia, Louise, Ramsey, Tillemans as a new sign in the midfield. Zaniolo has been signed, but I think he's part of this betting scandal, so I don't think he'll be playing for a while. Then up front, you obviously got Bailey, Diaby, as I mentioned, Buendia, Watkins, and the new young lad Duran, the Colombian. He seems pretty good. I do think Villa will get Europe this season. They've been on phenomenal form, obviously beating Brighton 6-1. That was a very, very good game. They're destined for 7th, I think. Back in that Conference League. And then they're playing West Ham. They're also on... Probably a lot of people didn't expect them to be doing this well. But they've made, Alvarez and Kudus from Ajax. Ward-Prowse was a great signing. They've just got a good... There's a good thing going at the moment with West Ham. But there's a good feel about squad and David Moyes. David Moyes is back to his Everton best. I know last season was a bit of a shocking season for West Ham, but I feel like trying to balance Europe and Premier League, I think they had a few injuries in there as well. It was quite difficult for them. They still did with it, still stayed up. But yeah, I think this will be a very good game. If we had a game that will, against 2 sides looking for Europe, I think this game will be another draw. I can see this being a 1-1. I really can't call this, to be honest. Either side could win. But I think it'll be 1-1. And the final game of game week, Tottenham against Fulham, another London derby. Spurs, I was extremely pessimistic about this team. I didn't think they would have gotten Europe. I think Ange Postecoglou, I can't pronounce his name. I thought Ange wasn't good enough to manage a top 6 side. I feel like the appointment felt very, very like they didn't have any other choice. But they have massively surprised me. I can't really say on that. We got rid of Kane. I think he needed to go, in my opinion, just to win anything. Son's kind of taken up that goal scoring position. We brought in Maddison, good signing. He's been probably, statistically, I'm pretty sure he's one of the best in the league. Obviously, we signed Johnson. That's a sad face for me because although we did get the money, it's still sad to see one of your best players go. Unfortunate, but it is what it is, I suppose. Obviously, we've got Kulusevski and Podro and Pernan. Van de Ven has been a good signing at the back. I think he's been one of those signings that's gone under the radar. The goalkeeper as well, Vicario. He's been very solid as well. Another fucking underrated signing. But these, I've got a clap. I've got a clap for them because they're now leading the league. They've played absolute phenomenal football. Obviously, the Luton game, I know they won it. That wasn't their best performance. They're very unlucky against Liverpool. Very unlucky against Arsenal. I think they'll get top 4 this season. I think that's kind of written now. I just feel there's a good feel about Spurs this season. Like West Ham, very, very good vibes you get. You feel like everyone's happy. Ange seems to be that manager from what I've heard. Very tough in the back room. Very, because I thought when he did very well at Celtic, the signings he made from obviously Asian leagues and stuff. But I just thought to manage Celtic and Rangers, and this is the same thing that I think Gerrard had when he went to Villa. It's like this, because you win leagues and because you do half decent in Europe, it's like that's it. They're like upcoming managers. They're going to do well in England. Never ever does well. Brendan Rodgers had a great start at Leicester. Look where they are now. Gerrard obviously at Villa didn't work out, and I thought Ange would have followed that kind of trade, but he really hasn't at the minute. He seems to be very, very, very adaptable to this league. I like him as a personality as well. I think he's good for the league. And then Fulham, they're that mid-table side, aren't they? They did very well last season from coming up. They've signed Bassi, Ballatore from Milan, obviously Castagni from Leicester. Iwobi as well was a bit of a weird one for me. Adama Traore and Raul Jimenez as well from Wolves. I do think, obviously they got rid of Mitrovic, went to the Saudi League. I like Marco Silva. I like the kind of vibe of the squad. Do I think they're going to improve this season though? No. They've had I think they're 12th, aren't they, at the minute? They'll just stay where they are, really. They're going to be mid-table side. Actually, I think if Palhinha goes, then I think I can start to see him going down, and I think he's quite irreplaceable, really, for them. He's their best player, in my opinion. But just a solid mid-table side. I mean, what more can be said? They're arguably the most boring sides in the league. Not because they're shit, because they're just there. Like, they'll just stay around the league. They'll sign, like, Bassi, those kind of players, you know. That being said, what I think the match will be, I mean, you can written in the stars. Tottenham are going to win. I think they'll win 2-0. See Son do it, just having a brace, potentially. Who knows? This was me reacting to, or at least reacting, I'm used to saying that, me predicting the football results for this weekend. As always, subscribe, I beg, and I'll see you in the next one.